Bible messages teaching of love. Jesus' explanation. Transcripts. You must be taught by the Spirit within you, or you will remain without knowledge. But it can only become active if you live a life of love. And therefore my mission as a human being on earth initially consisted of conveying the divine teaching of love, for the human being's compliance with it first had to change him such that it enabled the Spirit within him to become active, and only then were further spiritual instructions possible. However, at the time of my life on earth, people had so much diverged from love that they had to be informed time and again and in ever greater detail of the consequences of their heartlessness, and the commandment of love had to be constantly preached to them, and I was only able to initiate a few into profound knowledge. Yet it would not have been wise on my part to impart this knowledge to people in general, because without love it remains dead knowledge without result. And therefore it was my will that my disciples' transcripts were preserved in such a form that they indeed lack profound knowledge but nevertheless contain the teaching of love, and anyone who follows it will also penetrate into deeper knowledge if he seriously desires it. I myself have certainly shared an abundance of knowledge on earth, yet I also knew my listeners' hearts. I was aware of their degree of love, their will and their realization of my personality, which made them accept the knowledge they were offered as the only truth. I also instructed my disciples, and through pouring out my Spirit after my ascension I enabled them to impart to their fellow human beings the same information they received through the Spirit, and thus people who were brought the gospel by my disciples were well taken care of. But since a life of love is always a prerequisite in order to understand profound spiritual knowledge and derive the blessing from it, the commandment of love was intended to be passed on to future generations, and was therefore written down by my disciples on my instructions, so that it would be preserved as I had taught it on earth. And my way of life, which was meant to serve as an example to all people, was also a subject of the transcripts which, as my disciples' legacy, were left to humanity, but which are missing more profound knowledge because this is my will. For anyone who wants to draw the knowledge from the scriptures, which indeed include my word, but who is without love would not know what to do with it, because spiritual knowledge is the light which is only kindled through love, which can only burst into full radiance when the human being's spirit awakens and then enlightens the person from within. Academically imparted knowledge is only valuable if it can be examined and assimilated in order to become intellectual property, but this is only ever possible with the Spirit's assistance, which therefore makes love indispensable. What is therefore more understandable than that I myself on earth as well as in the transcripts, which came about according to my will, only ever taught love, and that the commandment of love must only ever be presented to people first and foremost? What is more understandable than that the human being cannot be admonished often enough to comply with this commandment in order to attain psychological maturity? All further knowledge is just the result of a life of love, and will be imparted to each individual person as is beneficial to him. For as soon as his spirit has become active he can receive unlimited knowledge, since the degree of wisdom he wants is determined by himself, and then he will no longer need to accept it from books, but it will be offered to him directly from the spiritual kingdom, which, however, can only be understood by a person who has awakened the Spirit within himself through complying with my commandment of love, which will never be comprehensible to those who live without love and try to gain their knowledge from books. This is just dead knowledge. Only the Spirit will give life. Only love will grant complete understanding. Amen.